My name is Cal. I started building garments at the beginning of the pandemic.
Okay,
Before that, I was a surfing instructor, and then before that, I was in the U.S. Navy.
nice.
And then, yeah, that's the whole story basically. Nah, not really. Instagram for me is just for the brand.
Right.
Everybody that follows me is just like people on the internet. Nobody in real life knows about that shit. So,
Really?
yeah,
You don't promote it at all?
no, not really. I don't. I mean, yeah, I just keep it on the internet.
Okay, so you started at the beginning of the pandemic. So you and why, bro? Like, why did you get this intuition to start making clothes?
Let me see, who was it? It was Philip something in Australia who makes like the box pants
Uh-huh.
that everybody's been making. And then it was like some other guy that does applique work. I can't remember his account anymore. It was like way back then. And then I just thought like, yeah, I could do that. So I had the idea to do applique work on like just hoodies, just put out hoodies. Before that, it was kind of already like I was kind of already getting into fashion up until the pandemic, up until like maybe 2018. I wasn't really into fashion, right? I would rock like screen print tees with like basic pants and like some basketball shoes. I really like basketball shoes. So like that was like my whole fit was my shoes, I just put some pants on and a screen print just to go with the shoes.
Yeah.
18 or 19 or something like that. I saw I was in Japan and I saw Boro for the first time. And I love blue, right? That's my favorite color, everything. So I was in love, right? So from learning about Boro, I ended up learning about just Japanese fashion overall, all the different aspects. And I decided like I really like Japanese fashion. I like the way they do things. I thought it was so respectable and just like quality. It was like Hiroki Nakamura
Mm-hmm.
with Visvum, really big influence. And then it was like, of course, Capital with Kira Horata. I loved his imagination. And then Issei Miyake for sure. And
Absolutely.
since then, it's basically just been like those three that have really influenced my work. But, I learned all about tons of different Japanese fashion traditions and shit like that.
What attracted you out of the Japanese garments? Like, what was something that
It was Boro for sure. It was indigo because I just loved the color so much. At first, really, I wanted to just dye a bunch of shit indigo and
Mhm.
sell it. That was like I just wanted to do that. But then from learning about that, it just led into like the patterns and the culture behind the patterns, the
Excuse my ignorance.
mentality.
Is Boro an artist or is this a specific style of art?
Oh, sorry. Boro is a Japanese tradition of repairing and mending fabric.
Okay.
So it's like scraps that they just stitch together with hand stitching. They call it sashiko. So that's what Boro is. So if you see like the capital jackets where it's just like a bunch of different patches of blue with sashiko stitching, like that's called Boro. And in Japan, it's kind of like a mentality of maintaining and prolonging the useful life of the fabric. They really valued this fabric,
Mhm.
and to keep it living, there's all these rips in it, all these tears in it, like working in the fields back then. Indigo in Japan was like a poor man's dye. In
Mhm.
the 1800s, the silk was only to be worn by like royalty and shit like that. So the poor people, the peasants, they would be wearing indigo and hemp type cloth, and they found that like indigo was just a great dye for dyeing those type of fabrics. They also had a lot of like beliefs about indigo with blue, and it's an island, surrounded by the ocean. They had all these like spiritual beliefs about it, so it just became really part of the culture. And like some about it, man, just like to me is the color. It's just beautiful, but some about like the story, it
Mhm.
just adds to the beauty of
What, what,
Boro. And
what your story reminds me of, I feel like it's Japanese as well. That tradition of like when you get a broken pot, like they don't
they
refix it,
gold,
but
right?
they with gold exactly. They
Yeah,
make that piece much more valuable than it used to,
yeah,
be. And because it has
yeah.
these broken essences and whatever that we
They
want.
take the broken parts and they turn that into beauty with the gold. Yeah, it's a great tradition. I was like, when I saw that, I was brainstorming about different garments that I could make with that. I loved the look. Like started with pants, really. It was just like pants was it seemed like denim was hot, stacking denim especially.
Mhm.
So I was just started with pants, and then I did pants for a while, and then I realized at one point that like I needed to make a bunch of other shit, like learn all these other types of garments, all these other techniques. There was so much, and then at this point, I've learned like basic pants, basic torso type garments, like pockets, shit like that. And now I'm trying to move on to like more advanced silhouettes and patterns that like are just kind of.
Well, your pants are ready, bro. Like I've never seen pants that fucking turn around on themselves. Like
Yeah, the banana.
yeah,
Yeah.
did you come up with that, or was that something that you saw?
That was, I mean, I know a few designers have done that, but I specifically learned about it from Issey Miyake.
Okay.
Because he did a curved pair like in the 90s or maybe in the 2000s, something like that. And I saw that pair and I was like, what does it look like? Like, what does it feel like?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was just like, I got a process is just to draft it out, build it, and then put it on and see what I gotta, what fabric I gotta take out, where I gotta add fabric, and then I'll draft it again, build it out again until it's perfect. Is one of one fashion, if you're going for the profits, is definitely starting off is like it's not gonna work out. Like, I mean, in my case, I haven't really paid for ads and shit like that, so it's it just didn't seem like basically everything I ever made I found that I couldn't sell it for like what I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of the shit, but like most of it, I had to like negotiate down or like price it down. So eventually, I realized that like I can't be making clothes for the profits. I got to just be making clothes for the content, and the profits will come later. So there's that, and then I think one thing that's tough that a lot of people sleep on is the expense of quality fabric, because most kids are making shit out of other garments and they're getting it at like Goodwill or whatever. But like when you're trying to buy like high quality fabric, like man, Japanese shit is like it's like $30 a yard, and it's made in a loom that's like a third of the width as like most looms around the world. So you're getting like a third of the fabric for like twice the price. Yeah. And it's just like, damn, man, like it'll be like sometimes up to like even $200 of fabric just into one garment. And then I end up selling it for like $250. And it's like, was it worth it? I still think it's worth it, you know, because I got the photos, I got the content, but like, yeah, it was good. It was good. There's definitely like a niche following for Japanese fashion and Japanese textiles. And there's like a lot of people that appreciate it. But at the end of the day, I decided that it wasn't my niche and it wasn't my, like, it's something I appreciate. And I'm glad I like learned so much from Japanese fashion. But at the end of the day, I realized that my brand isn't a Japanese brand. It's like got to be my own thing. You feel me? So like at this point, I've just decided to take what I've learned and start fresh with a whole new vibe for my brand.
Yeah, that's sick. And so so before okay, now that's really interesting to me. So now you're kind of just trying to build it from scratch. And how do you go upon that, bro? Like how do you? Because do you think is there still space for innovation on like new actual, like, you know how you'd say like the banana pants? So like do you think today there's still space for us innovators to kind of like tap into new branches of like clothing or like different, I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, like, kind of.
I think the danger with going the avant-garde route is that a lot of kids will end up making clothes that's real costumey and just corny to me. I think the people who do it best, to me, I put at the top of the list like Capital. Honestly, they can put out like unique silhouettes that are different from the norm, but they're still wearable and they still look good. Like it's not overly crazy. Some shit from Capital might be kind of loud and kind of out there, but it works. Like it's just a lot of the composition of these pieces just works, you know. But yeah, there's definitely room for that. I definitely want to. I've decided with my new brand, my biggest inspiration for silhouettes, it comes from military and military garments from around the world. I think they've done a lot of like cool work. They've put out iconic silhouettes, like all the flight jackets.
Uh-huh.
They put out the A1
Yeah, the
bomber jacket.
indicators, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they put out a whole list. The B2s. I think it was like it might be the A1 or the B1 or something like that. Tom Cruise wore it in Top Gun, and it became like the most iconic silhouette. Yeah, every brand nowadays is making flight jackets. So the military is responsible for a lot of these dope
And
ass
especially,
silhouettes.
bro, like military, dude, some of them, like the commanders, got this sleek attire. They got that really, like, you can see that there's like thought process into like the specific shoulder pads.
Oh yeah, like the dress uniforms. Yeah, some of
I mean,
that.
the
Some of it's
I think was really
bro.
cool. I think the Japanese like fucking military shit. That the shirts that they got there that it goes like this, it kind of patches onto the side like that.
Yeah. That's like seems like a common thing with a lot of Japanese designers, putting the entry mechanism slightly offset, so it's like asim, and it is kind of nice.
It is nice though.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And did you have are you like your name was before Azuli trade? What about your name? You told me was To the Stars. Why?
All right. Yeah, I'll tell you about Azuli. Azuli was it came from my two favorite colors, blue and gold. Right. So it was inspired by the gem lapis lazuli. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like blue with gold in it.
Isn't it like I know that in Italian, azzurro means just like turquoise type of color. That's like kind of like the water.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that was part of it. I took lapis lazuli. I took the second word and just took the L out and just made it. It's just a made up shit. But then, like I said, I changed it to the stars because I decided. Originally I wanted to start a second brand that was going to be all about space, right?
Interesting.
But because that's my passion, space is my passion. But then eventually, that's what I decided to do was just take Azuli and just turn it into the brand that I really wanted to make.
Okay, I got fascinated for a second. Why is space your biggest passion? Like, what intrigues you about space?
I mean, I don't know what doesn't intrigue me about space. Just about everything, man. It's the last frontier. It's just exploration, mystery, the unknown, everything about it. But also it really humbles you. Anytime you're learning about anything that has to do with space, it puts into perspective your place in the world.
So it's such an interesting thing because I would have never expected that would be like your actual aspiration. Like, so you would, no questions asked, go to Mars if they asked you.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure Elon is taking some fucking requests.
I tried to sign up when I was early on in my military career. I tried to sign up for that shit, bro. It's even with their technology, it's extremely possible that we'll explore our system within the next 50 years. But if we're talking like making it to like Andromeda or
a few moments later.
So we know that speed does affect time to some extent.
Time acts differently at the speed of light.
But what was that thing where like they can never measure?
Much later.
Wait till later when we get to talking about aliens, bro.
That's gonna be, bro. We're never gonna stop at this point. But bro, are you ever gonna come to LA? Are you thinking about coming anytime soon?
Man, if I could come today, I would, but I just gotta get my funds up, until I could afford that. So, but hopefully within the year. I mean, I'm planning on within the year.
Bro, I just have one last question, and then after, I think this is more than enough. Like, I got enough footage for like 5 interviews. But if you have any advice to give your past self when you just started your artistic and clothing venture, what would that be?
To make something new every single time I made something, but something really new. Because there was plenty of times where I would make my banana cut pants, and then I made another one, and maybe I changed like some detailings or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was the same pattern with the same pockets and the same construction. But if I had, instead of making 30 pairs of pants, with different designs on them, if I had made 30 different unique garments, my skills would be way farther ahead at this point. So